Right. So hello, everyone. I'm Chris Matera. I'm the Executive Director of the Basalt Chamber of Commerce, and this webinar is going to go over the 2022-23 Chamber Pass program, everything about the process, what the program entails, details about the audit, how to opt in and get the discount, all the way through to any other questions you might have about the Pass program. So to kick off, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so we have a handy little flow chart that is available on our website. And right now everything is linked on our homepage, so you can either click the banner at the top that says learn more about the process, which is bright orange, or you can click on the icon with the skis on it to get to the main page. And so let me show you, this is the main page here. So you could actually type in basaltchamber.org/ I believe it's ski passes and get to this. Anyway, this is details about the program. To give you a brief overview, let me stop share. Oh, unshare, stop share. Okay. To give you a brief overview of the program, this is an opportunity that is presented to our members from the Aspen Skiing Company. It's a discounted program, and the rates that are provided are significantly discounted. So we're talking about a $900 savings this year per pass. So it definitely adds up, and it pays to be a chamber member. Now, the biggest detail that we want to reinforce is that this is intended to be a program for local businesses and therefore local residents. So this program is for primary residents only. Businesses who operate part of the year here, who may be located elsewhere, say Miami, Austin, Texas, somewhere in California, those individuals are not eligible for this program. Both the owners, managers, and employees need to be in the Roaring Fork Valley working 20 hours a week in the winter season. And then there's an audit process that makes sure that everyone is good with the program, and it's a 10% of participating businesses get audited every year just to ensure the sanctity of the program and ensure that it is locals using this program and getting those discounts. So I'm going to go into our program. So we have a flow chart that is available to walk everyone through the program. First and foremost, this is a program for chamber members. So are you a chamber member? If not, please join us. It has those details on there. If you are a member, do you have an outstanding invoice? Have you recently paid your membership dues? We'll check for that. If you haven't paid your dues, you'll get hung up in step 2 of the process. And then, is the business located and operated within the Roaring Fork Valley? Essentially, does that business meet the primary residence requirement as set forth by Aspen Skiing Company? And I will disclose, these are Aspen Skiing Company's rules. We happen to enforce them, so please don't get mad at me if you are not eligible for the program. And so we go through this process. We ask that there's one representative for each business or organization that decides to opt in. So please do not have every single employee try to individually opt in. It's one representative per business, and just makes it easier both with the chamber side and with Aspen Skiing Company to kind of handle all the different transactions that are happening. It's easier in a smaller business with, say, 2 or 3 people, have that one point person, but especially if you have larger organizations with 20, 30, 40, 50 employees, it just becomes too cumbersome if everyone's trying to participate. We just want that one point of contact. So it's that single designated chamber pass person who's been anointed to handle this that goes through the process with us and then with Aspen Skiing Company. So again, this is our handy website. It has all the information you need on this one landing page. Goes through a lot of the details that we'll be going through in this webinar. Here's the webinar we're on right now. And most importantly is the important links, read me. And I apologize for all the background noise. The biggest one you want to click on is the highlighted how-to option. And that goes through every one of the 4 steps in the program step by step. So we're going to click on this. Well, actually, let me back up. The Chamber Pass program has 3 passes that are part of it. This is not all of the passes that Aspen Skiing Company sells. There's several other options that have been made available, but there are 3 passes that are part of this program this year. There's the Premier Pass, which is your full pass that offers unlimited access to all 4 mountains. It also includes an Icon Pass and the Uphill Pass, which are normally a la carte items. Again, this is where the $900 savings come in during the super early pricing deadline. So that means you have until September 16th to get the best pricing possible as a local individual or employee in the Valley. There's also the 2-day-a-week pass, which means you can ski 2 days a week. And then the 1-day-a-week pass, which is 1 day a week skiing. There's other passes like the Valley Pass, which is a 7-day option. Those are directly sold through Aspen Skiing Company. They're not part of the Chamber's program. So our discounted program only includes these 3 types of passes. Now, the other thing I want to draw your attention to is the Chamber Pass Program Guidelines and Benefits. This document is sent to you at every opportunity possible, and not knowing what these guidelines are not an excuse if you're found to be not in compliance with the program. But it really outlines which businesses qualify, which owners, managers, and employees qualify. Pretty much you have to be a W-2 employee working at least 20 hours in the winter season to qualify for part of the program. Same goes for owners. If you're a silent partner and not actually working on the business, you do not qualify for a pass. You do have to be working at least this 20 hours a week in the winter season. There's also a spouse pass option that is available, and the spouse qualifications are outlined in this document. If you have any questions of does someone qualify or not, please look at the Chamber audit guidelines, because that will tell you if you can't provide that documentation for that individual, you should not be getting a pass for them because they do not qualify for the program. This also goes into the payment requirements, how to upgrade passes, how to transfer passes, and a lot of really important details. Please be sure to read this. This is the fine print. This is what makes the program possible, but it also outlines everything you need to know of how the process works. There's also an opportunity for season pass insurance, but I'll get into more of that later. So it's a 4-step process. And the biggest one is it does require all of our members to take action. And again, we're only asking for the single designated Chamber Pass representative to be the person taking part of this process. But you need to tell us you want to be part of the program. We have about 400 members in the membership, and anywhere between 200 and 240 of them participate in the program, but that varies from year to year. So I do not know if you want to be part of the program until you tell me to. That is the opt-in part of this process. And our opt-in process is essentially you go ahead and you're RSVPing for an event. You provide us all the details you need in that event registration form. And then I work my magic in step 2. So we have all this outlined here. So step 1, opt-in. Member takes action. So we have the opt-in button here on our page that will take you to that registration link. And then we have step-by-step instructions with screenshots to show you exactly what you need to type in for this information. It clarifies when it asks you for number of full-time employees, what number you need to put there, and who qualifies as a full-time employee. And this is by Aspen Skiing Company's definition, not ours. So to give you an idea of what this pass looks like, or the process, this is the opt-in page. And one would click the Register Now button, which I need to share that new screen that just popped. And so this is the Register Now button. You go through, again, the instructions are here, and if you get stuck, we have those screenshots available to you. And you log in, and I'm already in the system, so it might not let me. And see, I'm already in the system, but I'm not going to do a new registration, but the short version is please go to the instructions, which are here. And this shows you exactly the page we were just on, all the information you need to type in, what the form is going to look like, what are our required fields, and all these little details. When you successfully opt in, you will get, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling fast, you'll get an email that says you have successfully opted in. So this is the first part of that process. Then I get to work my magic. So step 2 of the process is Chamber staff goes through, we review your information, we ensure that you've paid, that you meet the basic standard of a Chamber member in good standing. And then we take your information that was inputted in that form, we put it in the back end of Aspen Skiing Company's database to say, okay, this business is legit, this is how many passes they can get, and provide them all those details. Once we're done with that process and everything's good to go on the chamber end, you'll get a confirmation email that will tell you exactly that you're good to go, that you've met these requirements, and here's a link to the order form. And so I'm going to just show you that real quick. Share screen. So you'll get an email that says eligibility verified, next steps, and order form link inside. We try to make it pretty straightforward. And the second bullet will say pass selection. And then you are going on to step 3. At this point, once you've transitioned to step 3, you are no longer working with the chamber. We're happy to answer questions, but we can't see where you are in the rest of the process. That's going to be between you and Aspen Skiing Company. So any questions really should be directed towards them. Now, once you get that email from us with the pass order form link, step 3 is actually ordering your passes. So at this point, particularly for our larger employers, you've hopefully collected how many passes you need, of what type. So how many premier passes do you need for your employees that meet those requirements? How many spouse passes do you need? Spouse passes are eligible. Aspen Skiing Company assumes a 1-to-1 ratio. So say you have 2 full-time employees that meet the requirements, they could technically get up to 2 spouse passes. We've also had situations that as long as the employee meets the requirements, but maybe they're not a skier and the spouse is, they can still get that pass as long as they're within the numbers that we've put into Aspen Skiing Company's system. So you go through and order the pass. This is just a very large 1-page order form. It reinforces the payment, how payment goes, that you can't exceed $10,000 on a credit card, that every payment method has to be done through the business, so it can't be individual employees. The one exception to that is if the owner is paying or it's a sole proprietor and they have their own business, they can use a personal check or credit card. But in any other instance, if you are an organization, for example, the Salt Chamber Pro card is used to purchase ski passes for staff. I am not using my personal credit card to pay for that or writing a personal check. It is all done through the business because this is a business program. So it goes to this. It also reinforces the qualifications of which employees can actually access this benefit. You can't give it to your friends. You can't give it to 1099 contractors. You can't give it to vendors unless they are a W-2 employee working this 20 hours a week in the winter season. They do not meet the qualifications. And I want to make sure our membership takes this very seriously, because the difference that the company will end up paying is this year $1,400 per pass that is in violation. There's also the potential that you get blackballed from SkiCo and can never participate in the program again. So there's some pretty serious consequences if you violate this program. If you have individuals that do not meet those qualifications to participate in our Chamber Pass program, they can go buy a regular pass directly with Aspen Skiing Company. That's their alternative. But again, we try to be really strict because we don't want to ruin this for everybody else. Crested Butte used to have a similar program before Vail Resorts bought them, but there was so much violation in the program that they took it away, and that's the last thing any of us want. So there's serious consequences. Once you've completed step 3, you'll get this confirmation pop-up. You'll also get an email if you clicked the box that said send me a copy of my responses, which I recommend. And then please give Aspen Skiing Company up to 72 hours to process this. So someone on the back end has to manually create an order in their system and then create that sales order. And Jennifer, I will get to your question at the end. So make sure you filled out the order form completely. The 72 hours are going to go by. You'll get an email then from Aspen Skiing Company once that order has been created. And so this is the confirmation if you selected send me a copy of my responses. And then, so step 3 is now complete. Now Aspen Skiing Company works their magic with that pass order form. Once that has been completed, you'll get an email from them. And again, this email is going to go to that designated Chamber Pass representative, so that one person. And the subject line will be pass order confirmation, payment required. So this is the final step. Until Aspen Skiing Company gets payment, those super early discounted rates are not locked in. Once they get payment, then you're good to go. So this outlines in the email that you'll receive all the different ways that you can pay. We've also documented them on our website, but you can either pay with a business card over the phone, which is what the chamber did for its staff. It was super easy because it's early in the process. It took us less than 5 minutes. That may not be the case the last week of the deadline, so we always encourage everyone to opt in early. You can also pay with a business credit card in person. You can pay with a business check in person. This is technically more convenient for those in the Aspen Snowmass area that have access to a ticket office. The Basalt Two Rivers ticket office will not be open until the week of September 12th, which is starting to get close to that deadline. So I'd recommend trying to pay before then. You can also wire money to Aspen Skiing Company or send a check in the mail. I would caution anyone about sending checks in the mail just because the post office has been slow, and we as the chamber have noticed many checks have gone missing or have to get reissued, and the original one was voided. So that's just a lot of headache, especially when you require that payment to lock in that pricing. In the sales order attachment, it will have the sales order number, and then you call the phone number that they provide in that email if you're going to pay over the phone, but you'll need to reference that order number. Once you've made that payment through one of these various means, you will get a confirmation. I'm going to get to that. It'll say, thank you for your online order and payment. Enclosed are your voucher IDs. So the voucher ID is the special code that's going to be used. Essentially, your voucher is a gift certificate. It locks in the pricing for the pass and for a particular type of pass, but is not the pass itself. A voucher redemption is when you take that pass and you load it onto the card that's in your pocket when you go through the turnstile on the lift. So that's when it truly becomes your season pass. Once that information is loaded onto the card, that voucher is no longer refundable. It's truly a pass. If you still just have the voucher number and it's never been redeemed, businesses have until February 15th, 2023 to return it for the full face value of that pass. So what we encourage is wait on giving out that pass information until ski season's ready to start, so around Thanksgiving. Or if you're a member or an employee who is not totally sure if you're going to ski, this is a great way to essentially have cheap insurance that is separate from the actual trip insurance that you can put on a pass. To give you a real world example, in 2020, I was actually in a medical waiting room, waiting to be examined to see about my hip. I had made the payment over the phone at Aspen Skiing Company for my pass using the chamber credit card, and then found out I needed to go get an MRI and ultimately was booking surgery later that day. I wouldn't have been able to walk for 8 weeks, let alone ski. So I immediately had to go return that pass, but it was a super easy process. Had we had already loaded that onto my card, the chamber would have had to eat that cost of the pass. So I highly recommend keep things in the voucher format as long as humanly possible. And there are directions on how to go through redeeming that voucher, but I would mark your calendars for November for that, especially if you tend to do things like mountain biking. It might hurt yourself in the fall. Again, it's built-in insurance if you keep it that way. So here's an example of what the order confirmation receipt is going to look like. These numbers here, which I've blurred out because they're my pass, are the links that you would use to redeem that. So that's ultimately what's going to be given to employees. The email from Aspen Skiing Company tells you the exact language, so you can just copy and paste it and send that to your employees. But please do keep track of who's getting what pass. It's going to make it a lot easier, especially if there's the audit. So to go into the audit, there are details here in the guideline, and this goes through the entire audit process and the documentation you need to present. Again, 10% of our membership is randomly selected to be audited. This is everyone. I've had board members selected. We've had, a variety of businesses and industries selected. So please be prepared to be audited. And so that includes different documentation as things like a payroll report if we really get stuck, but typically it's your fourth quarter unemployment report with the names of those employees showing that they'd worked enough hours to hit that 20-hour qualification. There's different documentations for sole proprietors, different for a partnership, but this guidelines document tells you exactly what you need to provide. With spouses, it also outlines, whether it's a marriage certificate, civil union license, or an affidavit noting common law marriage. And so again, helpful hint with the audit process, just keep track of who's getting what pass and make sure you can prove that they're legitimately allowed to use the program. So I think that's a big one. I'm going to stop screen sharing. All right, so that covers a lot of it. Jennifer, I think we'll have to talk offline about the volunteer component separately with Aspen Skiing Company. But for anyone else, are there any questions about the pass, the program, the process, how to opt in? My biggest recommendation is that we have set September 9th as our internal deadline, just to allow everyone enough time to get through our part with the chamber and then allow about a week to process with Aspen Skiing Company, because we're not the only chamber participating. I would say in total, we have at least 1,000 businesses here in the Roaring Fork Valley participating. So it's going to get a little hectic.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for doing this today. I have a question. Our library does it as a payroll deduction. So it's a pass-through where we pay the upfront cost and then the employee pays us back through payroll deductions. Do you know of any other chamber members that do it that way? We don't have any like paperwork or any kind of like structure internally in our organization to manage that. And I'd like to create some, but I don't want to reinvent the wheel if others already have that.
We do that internally. So as part of my contract, I have a certain allocation for health benefits or fitness, which one year, the year of the hip surgery, was PT instead of a ski pass. But we do payroll deduction for the balance on my account. So I can connect you with our bookkeeper. Alternatively, a lot of the larger organizations, so like Roaring Fork Club would probably be a good example. Anyone who has probably more than 5 employees probably has a system in place. And that is actually, that's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. The chamber we're not involved in how the employees end up paying for that. And that is something that individual businesses do need to figure out is it going to be a payroll deduction? Is it a benefit, which it is taxable? So talk to your CPA, talk to your bookkeeper of how to process this correctly. But pretty much that's an internal decision. In the same way everyone's like, which pass do I get? I'm like, that's a business decision. I usually do my own calculation as to what's the break even for a season pass, which I haven't done yet this year, but usually it's about like 12 days. But again, that's kind of up to the individual business. Just make sure you're passing through the things in the right way and document it correctly for tax purposes. But yeah, I can definitely connect you with other members who probably are doing that. But again, it's an internal process, so I can only guess who's doing a payroll deduction. But it seems like that's the most common, is either a pass-through or an allocation. The other alternative that is available is some employers may choose to say, we're only going to cover the cost of the 1 day a week pass, and we're going to allocate X amount to that. And then the company could potentially pay for that. There is the opportunity when the individual employee with the voucher number goes to redeem that pass, they can always upgrade. So if there's, we're willing to cover that base pass, but say someone wants to upgrade to Premier, when they go to redeem that voucher, there'll essentially be a credit provided against that Premier pass cost. And then the employee can personally pay for that difference. So that is an option that is available if there's, funding in a budget, or that was part of an employee benefit package, that they can always upgrade. And the good news is, as long as that business has acted by September 16th, they can upgrade in November at that super early pricing and not have to pay what the current rack rate is at that point. So hopefully that helps. I don't know if there's any other questions, but and again, Jennifer, I'll touch base offline with you. So that's about it. Hopefully I've covered all of the questions. Our biggest thing is make sure you've paid your membership dues, make sure you've opted in. We actually have an early action incentive that runs through August 26th, where members are opted into a drawing for $325 towards next year's membership. We really want to incentivize acting early so you don't have to wait in line. And then our internal priority deadline is the September 9th timeframe to make sure you have enough time for SkiCo for you to order those passes, for you to get into ski ecosystem with the order confirmation, and then to actually go ahead and pay. Because again, if Aspen Skiing Company does not have your money by September 16th, you are going to pay a higher rate. So procrastinating will cost you. So that's my biggest takeaway, and always leave it in the voucher form if you can for as long as possible until you're ready to hit the slopes. But that's it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And you can always reach out directly. You call the main office 970-927-4031, or you can email director@basaltchamber.org. Thank you and have a great day.